Hi everyone, it's Nicole here for Simon Says Stamp with a summertime picture book lion card. This features lots of new product from the latest Sending Sunshine release from Simon Says Stamp. We've got the picture book lion, the summertime die, the 4 seasons stamp set, and then that awesome clouds stencil. This is a fantastic stencil that I absolutely love, that you can create not only the cloud shapes, but you can also create the cloud borders that are so popular. Today I'm going to use the cloud shapes because I think it's really fun that both are included in this stencil, and I'm going to mix and match everything for this really fun picture book card. If you guys follow me at all, you have probably noticed that I share a lot with these picture book die cut animals from Simon Says Stamp. I really truly love them. I think it is incredible. They're very innovative and totally different, and I think the paper piecing is really fun. We're going to start with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. This is my preferred cardstock for ink blending or inking in general because it gives such a smooth application without any funny lines from the ink blending tool. And I'm taking Tumbled Glass Distress ink. These are the regular distress inks. You could use either one, but Tumbled Glass only comes in the regular distress ink right now, and I love how faint light blue it is. I want the clouds to be very understated in the background and not be overly in your face. They're just the kind of the supporting cast here. I'm going to go ahead and continue to stencil these, kind of fill in my background. This is going to be the background for my scene. I'm a big fan of scene cards, something that I also create a lot of, and I find them really fun to create, and I love to find different ways. In this case, I'm implementing that summertime die that is more of a greeting, but I'm making it more of the scene as well as the greeting, I guess, if you might call it like that. I like to find ways to make the whole card really cohesive, and I think this is a great way to do that. I almost thought of it like a circus. I don't even know what they're called, that the animals, you know, can stand on, more like elephants. I guess you would see that more often than not, but that's kind of what I was thinking here. It's like this big block that the lion is sitting up on, almost like a throne. He is the king of the jungle after all. That was my thinking here in using this. So not only is it the focal point greeting of the card, but it's also part of the scene. Next, I have a couple of borders die cut with my favorite Drifting Stitches borders dies. I used both of them from this die collection. Die cut them from a scrap of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm inking them with MOWED Lawn Distress ink. These are going to go along the bottom edge of the card to create my little borders. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Once I have those all inked, I want to clean up my work surface. And we're going to die cut the word summertime from Bristol Smooth cardstock as well. The background, the borders, and the greeting block are all custom inked. My lion I chose to die cut from colorful cardstock and just add some dimension with inking around the edges. So everything has a little bit of ink going on, but the background, borders, and this greeting are all going to be custom inked. Now for this, I chose colors that really said summertime to me. That's Candied Apple, Spiced Marmalade, and Squeezed Lemonade distress inks, and I'm going to blend those together on the negative portion of my background. I am actually using every bit of what I just die cut. I'm just customizing it. If you wanted to, you could always die cut the die from colorful cardstock and inlay that instead if you don't want to do the inking. But for me, this is not only no waste because we're using everything we die cut, but you can customize it with whatever colors you want. So maybe you don't have one of the colors of cardstock that you want to use for your project, but you have the inks and you can ink it up with whatever colors you like. I am using a piece of Post-it tape to hold my letters down to ink them. It just gives me a little bit more stability. Washi tape might be a little bit stronger, and I might try that next time, because as the ink gets applied to that sticky portion of the Post-it tape, it becomes not sticky anymore. But it really worked for such a small area. Now, I do want to mention something I discovered, and I have left it in the video because I want you guys to know this. There was definitely a correct way to put my letters into the positive part of the letters into the negative. I did not realize that some of the letters were bigger than others. So summer, the letters are a little bit bigger than time. So the M's are not all interchangeable. I thought they were, and I inked up that yellow M, and you can really see it here. I just didn't see it in real life, I guess, until I got to inlaying them, but it would not inlay because it's not the same size. And that goes for the E's as well. So they are not interchangeable. You might want to kind of keep that in mind and double check them if you want to try something similar. I covered the back of my panel with foam adhesive tape. This is my favorite way to do an inlay. And I'm going to go ahead and inlay the words for, or the letters for some. And you will see when I haven't inked up the rest of summer yet. When I go to try to put the M in to time, it didn't fit. And I was like, what in the world? And it finally dawned on me, it was too big. So I'm going to, and the E is the same way. So I'm going to have to go back, and luckily I inked up those yellow letters first, and I wasn't trying to go back to a lighter color. I'm going to a darker color. I need to ink these up with the Candied Apple Distress ink, and that'll just fix it up perfectly. Want to make sure and do my R as well. Now, the only letter that has a little inside piece is the R. And I want to ink that up with a little orange, since I tried to alternate and not do, like at the top of this square or rectangle, it's yellow. So those 3 letters were orange. The next section is more of an orange background. Those letters are red. And at the bottom, we've got the red section, and I did yellow letters. So it's all the same colors. I just kind of changed up the order to make it a little more interesting. But that little inside piece for the R, I went ahead and colored it with the spiced marmalade. And then the rest of the letter, of course, I'm going to color with the Candied Apple Distress ink. Once I have all of this inlaid, I can peel off the backing paper from my summer rectangle and pop this in place on my card. This is very much how I like to design scene cards, where I build from the background up. So we've got the cloud background, we've got our borders. The back border is adhered directly to the cloud background. We'll adhere that other border here in just a second. Because the summertime has foam adhesive, the front border really is going to have foam adhesive too to make it lay nicely. I've die cut my lion pieces. I mixed and matched companies here. The majority of my lion, what I'm inking up right now, his body and his mane, is from the Simon Says Stamp Sunshine cardstock, inked with Gathered Twigs Distress ink. This is going to give it just a little more texture and really works well with the rest of the inking we have going on the card. We want to ink up his mane and his legs. I love the detail here. Those legs add so much. It looks like he's perched up here on top of the summertime block. I love that. I like to start at the bottom and work my way up. Now, I smudged some Gathered Twigs Distress ink onto my background, and that's not going to be covered up with anything. I like to take a little dab of water on a dry paper towel, and you can wipe it away if you do it pretty quickly after you've made the little smudge, because Bristol Smooth cardstock is super forgiving. I don't want to rub back and forth hard, but if you rub lightly, you can see my smudge is all gone. So now we are adding the mane, and then for the face, I am using Lawn Fawn Sunflower cardstock. There's just a slight difference between the two colors, but it was just enough that I really liked how it worked for this particular picture book animal. Now I'm going to cut a thin strip of foam adhesive to put on my other border real quick before I finish my picture book animal. I moved back and forth quite a lot with this card. Sometimes I do, I don't know. But you can see how that lays so nice then over that foam adhesive block. A little Wild Honey inked up on the sunflower cardstock gives it just enough different look that I like that with the Sunshine cardstock. Also the ears, just using a little Wild Honey on those as well. And then I'm going to put a little dab of glue in the ear sections, the nose, and the eyes. The nose was die cut from Lawn Fawn Chocolate Bar cardstock and the eyes from Black Licorice cardstock. And because these areas are so little, the Marvy Jewel Picker is fantastic, and it's what I use to adhere sequins, confetti, and when I'm piecing together these picture book dies, this is what I like to use to get all those little pieces put exactly where they need to go. So there is my super sweet, cute little lion. A little glossy accents for his nose. I like when they have little glossy noses. Sometimes eyes too, it just depends. For this one, I only did the nose. I'm going to take a pink Copic marker and draw in some pink on his cheeks. And when I originally did this, I was like, oh, I think I just completely ruined my lion. I took a colorless blender and kind of smoothed the edges. I should have just given it a minute, because as that alcohol ink dries, it dried really nice, so he still kind of had a little bit of pink cheeks. That I'm going to take a white opaque pen and draw in some little spots there on his cheeks, kind of like the little spots where his whiskers would come out of. Now the top of the card is pretty plain. I felt like it needed a little additional color, so we're going to do that with some additional die cut hearts, but I want to finish my greeting first. We're going to be using the new 4 Seasons Sayings stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and piece together a greeting from this that reads, "Sending sunshine your way." I love that you can piece together your greetings to say whatever you want them to say. This is going to be stamped with clear embossing ink, embossed with white embossing powder, cut into a thin strip, and then adhered right underneath the summertime block on my card. This is one of my favorite ways to add little greeting strips to cards. And I think it really, that nice little pop of white on black really adds to that overall design. Now, once that's in place, it's really evident that the top part of the card needs some sort of pop of color, I think. And one of my very favorite ways to add color to a card design is to add either heart accents a lot. I generally am drawn to hearts, or stars. And it is by no means a new stamp set at all, or die set rather, from Simon Says Stamp, but it's been out for years and it continues to be one that I use over and over. In fact, I have little containers of confetti, these confetti heart pieces that I store and I can go to a lot of times instead of having to die cut new ones. I had to today because I didn't have these in the, I'd already used up all of my red hearts in the style I wanted, but a lot of times I just keep these extra pieces and they're the perfect little accent for so many different cards. So I've die cut these mini hearts from Simon Says Stamp lipstick red cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and pop them all out because, like I said, I'm only going to use 4 of them on my card, but it die cuts more than that. It actually die cuts 9 different hearts here, 3 of each style, and I just save those because you never know when you're going to need the perfect little heart accent. The smallest heart that it die cuts is my favorite one to adorn picture book animals with. I think it's fun to give them a little heart. And then we're going to add 3 more hearts kind of up there in the sky, and that tiny pop of color is just the perfect accent to finish off my card. Again, I'm using my jewel picker to perfectly position and place these right where I want them to go. Using a little Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to glue those in place, and a little bit of glue got out there. I'm just using my Spellbinders Tool-in-One to wipe up any little dabs of glue that maybe came out from around my hearts. I am ready to take this panel and adhere it to a white top fold card base. I like to put my adhesive on the card base itself, take the panel to that, use my Teflon bone folder to score it and flatten the card really nicely, and that is going to finish up this summertime picture book lion greeting card. Thank you so much for joining me today for another card featuring the Simon Says Stamp picture book line of dies. The supplies I've used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe for weekly card making and stamping and die cutting videos. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you here next time.